Hi everyone, have you ever thought about how many ways there are to represent a country? You know, you've got your flags, coats of arms, anthems, mottos, that. They're all great ways to represent what a nation stands for. But there's one thing that people often neglect. Every country canonically has a persona, and that's just a fact that we have to accept. I think that the concept of national animals is really cool because it's one of the more accurate ways to characterize a country. Flags are nice, but they're abstract. You need to do some digging to know how it came to be and what it stands for in relation to the nation. An animal, on the other hand, needs no explanation. If you see that the country's national animal is a giraffe, you know you're gonna find some long-necked friends over there. And so, despite it still being under the influence of governments trying to assign characteristics to themselves based on what characteristics animals usually have in popular media, it's still one of the more accurate symbols of a country. Cool, right? Okay, now take everything I've said and throw it out the window. Dude, trust me, we definitely have phoenixes flying all around the place. Yeah, some countries saw all of the available options and thought none of them suited their fancy. Might as well be represented by a mythical animal. Classic examples include the Greek phoenix, the Scottish unicorn, and Indonesia and Thailand share a mythical bird called the Garuda. Yes, this is the bird. But no mythical animal is used more than the bird. You know, like the government drones they are. But the dragons are close in second. And why wouldn't they be? Dragons are simply cool. So cool in fact that some countries decide, hey, why not just put it on the flag as well? And there's my cue. Welcome back to the vexillology volumes, where we put the dragon in vexillology. See, look, it's right there. Currently, there are 3 countries, Wales, Malta, and Bhutan, that have a dragon on their flag. And by 3 countries, I mean 2 countries. So let's go over how these dragons got their spot on the flags. There are a lot more sub-national flags and historical ones that also feature dragons, but I'm only going to discuss Wales, Malta, and Bhutan. So I'm sorry to all residents of the Polish county of Strzyżał. But hey, if you're from Strzyżał, then subscribe? Oh silly, that's not a whale. The dragon on the Welsh flag, referred to as Iddfreygoch, has its origins in the 1st and 2nd centuries pretty far away from Wales itself. The Parthians, Dacians, Sarmatians, and Scythians all used their own special variations of a dragon vexilloid. The point of it was to let it be carried by cavalry so that the dragon starts waving like a windsock. Inside there was a whistle which made it sound as if the dragon was making a shrill sound. And when you combine a waving and screeching, the opposing army would piss their pants and run back home. In the meantime, the Roman Empire conquered Dacia and began recruiting troops from outside of their borders, because all the Roman soldiers had died in multiple succession crises or something. So Rome took notice of the dragon vexilloids and started using them for their own cohorts, including a Sarmatian cohort, which was present in Britannia between the 2nd and 4th centuries. The dragon was still used a lot in Britannia after the Roman Empire declined, because the Britons were invaded by the Anglo-Saxons, creating a bunch of tiny Briton, Anglo, and Saxon states that were constantly at war. Include Heptarchy in the iCard. Wait, I wasn't supposed to say that out loud. And this is also where finding information about the specific use of the Welsh dragon becomes difficult. What we do know is that dragons often represented Britons and Saxons when they fought against each other. But the colors of the dragons were never standardized. The most popular interpretation was one where the Brittonic dragon was red and the Anglo-Saxon dragon was white, which is also why the Welsh dragon is currently red. It's based on the dragon that Henry VII Tudor flew in the Bella at Bosworth Field during the Wars of the Roses in 1485 to gather Welsh support, which is also where the green and white colors came from. He also put it on his coat of arms. And that red dragon was in turn based on a badge that was supposedly worn by Cadwaladr, who was the king of the Welsh state of Gwynedd in the late 7th century. There really isn't any proof that the dragon was actually red, or even if the king used a dragon in the first place, but at this point the ball was rolling and had no plans of stopping. When Great Britain and Ireland united in 1801, Wales was given a royal badge, featuring the red dragon as a reference to the Tudors. Since Wales was a part of England, it wasn't considered as a part of the Cool People Club, and didn't get featured on the British coat of arms. So Wales was instead given the badge as a participation trophy. In the end, the dragon became the focal point of the Welsh flag, which became official in 1959 and has been in use ever since. So if there's anything to take away from this story, it's that the color of the Welsh dragon was a couple historical coincidences away from having the same color of what was in the pants of Roman soldiers when they conquered Dacia and noticed the dragon vexilloid. We'll have to settle with Wessex. Moving from one country with a history of British rule to another, Malta also features a dragon on its flag, although you probably can't see it straight away. But don't worry, I'll show you. Right over here. Okay, but seriously, in the top left corner you can find what's known as the George Cross, displaying St. George killing a dragon, making it the only national flag that features murder, besides Belize's, because that one murders me. The Bible story goes that St. George came across a town in Libya, where a dragon demanded sacrifices of livestock, or else it'll destroy the whole town. When they ran out of livestock, the villagers started sacrificing people, and after some time of doing that, the king's daughter was selected to bite the dust. That's when good old Georgie came over to slay the dragon, making everyone rich and everyone got baptized, and also Obama was there. The English thought that story was so cool that they made George their patron saint and put his cross on their flag, stealing Georgia's thunder. Fast forward a couple hundred years, and the British got absolutely kerfuffled by the Blitz during World War II, and King George VI wanted to award civilians for their acts of courage. However, the Victoria Cross, which already awarded bravery, could only be given to the military, so the George Cross was invented to reward civilians. And also the entire crown colony of Malta. Not the governor, the island. That's because during World War II, Malta was completely surrounded by the Italian Empire, which gave the British the opportunity to shoot down Axis ships and aircraft carrying supplies. And so what followed for Malta was 2 years of heavy Italian and German bombardment and starvation. After surviving that nonsense, Malta received the George Cross from the king in 1942 and put it on their flag in 1943 like a magnet on a fridge, which they kept after independence. Some people think that the cross should be removed and replaced with a Maltese cross because the George I represents colonial history, but don't worry, I'll make a compromise between all sides, just like a European drawing African borders. Replace the George Cross with a Maltese cross, and then put a big-ass dragon across the entire width of the flag. Like, come on, you can't just get rid of the best part. Bhutan's dragon was actually made pretty recently in comparison to the other two, since they never needed a flag before 1947, leaving their foreign affairs to the British. Wow, I'm seeing a pattern here. But actually, Bhutan's dragon wasn't inspired by the British at all, rather a Chinese dragon. The differences are that Chinese dragons aren't aggressive, can fly without wings, and can't spit fire, so you could easily defeat them in a rap battle. However, as you can see, the Bhutanese dragon is holding several jewels, so it still has more drip than you. The story of this dragon has its origins in the 12th century, when the Drukpa, a branch of Tibetan Buddhists, built a monastery in western Tibet during a thunderstorm. Since thunder was considered to be the roar of a dragon, the Drukpa leader named the monastery after the thunder dragon, or the Druk. In the 17th century, the abbot of the monastery fled from religious persecution, and decided he might as well unite all of the warring fiefdoms in Bhutan, carrying the Druk over to the newly unified country. And let me tell ya, Bhutan took this idea and ran with it. The name of the country in the native language, Dzongkha, is Drukyul, Dragon Country. The heads of state are referred to as Drukyalpo, Dragon King. Hell, their national airline is known as Druk Air. Unfortunately though, unlike the actual dragon, the planes can't fly without wings. Even their aforementioned religion is called the Drukpa Kagyu. Confusingly, it has an entirely different origin story as to why the name refers to dragons, which is that the Drukpa saw 9 dragons flying in the sky when they built the monastery. And also Obama was there. Anyways, what matters is that Bhutan now has a dragon, and dragons are cool. They claim that the reason why it's white is because it symbolizes purity, which does hold up with common color symbolization, but like I've said before, color symbolism is propaganda, especially because the original 1947 flag had the dragon looking greener than the current design. So when they designed the current one, maybe they were just out of green that day. So those are all 3 dragons that are featured on national flags. Of course, since all 3 have varied and interesting origins, surely there's no reason to rank them all individually. George Koch. Let's just all agree that dragons are awesome. Oh wow, it's dark all of a sudden. Wow, a dragon! This has severe lore implications. Bro clearly wasn't paying attention. Wow, they totally traced that dragon off of something on Google Images. Well, I guess you could say the whole experience left an impact on me.